Good morning, everyone. I'm at Morris Reserve today in Bellbrook, Ohio, and this is a very special time here because for this next kind of week or so, at the time that I'm filming this, it's going to be in the super bloom, which is it's very unusual. It's not really common at all in Ohio because it's more of like a desert, more of a desert kind of climate, like parts of like California. I think they get just super blooms of all these different. Basically, the water kind of swells up from underneath the soils, and it just makes all these seeds germinate and sprout, and you just get these giant, massive displays of all these different wildflowers like we do here at this prairie. And so it's a nice, quite beautiful morning, just kind of in the middle of summer here. All the different kind of moisture and humidity it's gone for right now, but it's definitely going to come up right as the sun comes up over here. And for now, we just got all these different kind of rolling mist of fog, and it just looks really beautiful as it just kind of layers and moves along this giant tall grass prairie. Just the quietness and the ambiance of it. It's just it's getting me already thinking about photos pretty quickly, at least. But so to give a little bit of quick history before I start taking some photos, this was donated by the Morris family, and it's been family owned by them for 198 years. And so basically specification wise, it's 177 acres, and it has different kind of various woodland, prairie, and meadow. But right now I'd say definitely I'm going to be focusing more so on this super bloom prairie, just because of all the different, it's just got so many of these yellow cone flowers. It's massive, and there's just so many of them blanketed this giant prairie, just all this different yellow. And it's honestly probably one of the biggest prairies I've seen. And it's just a beautiful display of it. Sun's going to rise pretty quickly over the horizon here in a moment, so I'm going to see if I can maybe set up a sunrise composition and just start off with some landscapes. Might delve further into some macro and flowers later on. And some wildlife, of course, all these different sparrows and different kinds of prairie birds, and then we'll check out the rest of the reserve and the woodland and see what that's all about. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so the fog and mist is already kind of dissipated by now. The sun's pretty high up in the sky as of this nice and early morning. But I tried some different wide angles and different telephotos, different kind of angle shots, with different lens choices, using a polarizer, trying to get just like the prairie path, and then get some of the surrounding, obviously all the flowers that make it just this amazing super bloom. And then of course have the sun, the morning sun as it rises in the background. And I find the results, they look good, of course, but the thing I'm looking at right now, actually, that I'm going to talk about here in a moment, I find that just to be much more kind of interesting to me, because it's just like it's like an intimate detail or an intimate landscape where I extracted it with my small telephoto here. I think I'm zoomed in at 200 millimeters, and it's just a single purple coneflower that's just surrounded by this mass. Most of the prairie, at least, is just this giant sheet or bed of yellow. But every now and then you will see other kind of like prairie blazing star, and then purple coneflower to get some more, just a quick dash of different colors and all that. So I'm focused on this little purple coneflower, and the thing I like about it the most is you don't even have to use a shallow depth of field either, but the way it's surrounded by all the different out of focus foliage makes this really kind of like when you do macro and have a really shallow depth of field, it creates this really dreamy and like ethereal look to it, just surrounding it. But then I got obviously my focus point on this just single coneflower as I'm shooting in a vertical orientation, and I'm at f11 is what I'm shooting at, but even then it's got this really, like I said, just dreamy. It's just got this, I don't know, just this really interesting look that I like. And it's some days are, every day is different, but some days I do this wide angle sunrise, and those can look the best. And then other days like this, or just at this moment rather, at least, I get these just smaller details that I really like as well. As far as I'm concerned, this place is a hidden gem in my part of Ohio. It's just such a gorgeous display of just this. Like I said, it's 177 acres total, but 100 of that acres is just strictly devoted to this beautiful prairie, and there's so much yellow. It's just amazing. And there's all these different kind of dew-covered spider webs I'm seeing, both big and small. and it's just amazing just seeing this. I don't. It's like I'm so enamored by it. I don't even know really how to photograph it, to be honest. Or at the very least, I just want to enjoy it for what it is. And then over here, you just got this gorgeous, massive tree line, and then, which I'll show you later, is the woodland that you can hike on through. And it's just, this place has just got nice wide open spaces, and even in the woodland, it's not too kind of like claustrophobic and narrow. And it just, yeah, this place is honestly it's a little bit of a hidden gem too. It's kind of out of the way. I barely even noticed it. I was actually recommended by a friend to come here, who showed me it. But it's just a place that's really hard to find on the map, and it was recently in 2016 was donated to the local park district. So it's a very new reserve, but it's amazing just to think, and to think that a family owned this at one point before they donated it to the park district is just amazing. This would be a great backyard. Alright, I stumbled upon the back end of the prairie here, and there's like these different kinds of plant grasses. I'm not too familiar with the identification, but I just love the way they just kind of curve and bend over at the top, and then they're also backlit by the sun, and it gets this really like a luminous look to it. And it's just, you look out in this giant kind of like sea of just these backlit plants, and it just looks really amazing. So once again, I'm using a telephoto, small telephoto at least, to extract out the details, kind of like the purple coneflower shot I shot earlier. So I've just been messing with different focal lengths within this telephoto lens and trying out different angles. And I think that backlighting just really adds that little extra punch to the image, and really honestly just makes it for me. To be this nice textural pattern. So I think, yeah, it's very nice to try out these different kinds of prairie abstracts, I guess is what I call them. But they've been working out pretty well today, and just trying out different techniques instead of just doing the same almost kind of boring documented photo. So for this abstractual textural shot I've been doing, I've been also experimenting with hyperfocal distance focusing. It's a kind of type of mode where you generally will, depending on obviously your lens choice and the amount of distance in between your subject and the background, the foreground, and just all those different factors, is that you focus typically a third of the way into the scene, and it apparently gets a maximum depth of field as much as you can from front to back. And that's even regardless of the different kind of aperture or whatever, just kind of different camera settings that you use. So I did just that. I switched to manual focus, and then I just kind of focused a third of the way in the scene here, and I did find the results to be very satisfactory. It definitely opened up the whole entire background in focus. The very near foreground was still out of focus, but this is one of those techniques where you really have to like experiment with and see just the different ways to what makes the best kind of tack sharp photo throughout the whole entire frame. And another little technique to consider is that when you're kind of pre-scouting or you're planning out your locations to visit for the day, is the lighting. So I knew that I wanted to get the nice early morning light, and if there's any fog and mist, which there was fortunately, is that I wanted to be out here in the open where the lighting isn't so harsh. And then once it gets kind of towards high noon and the sun kind of rises up a little bit higher than this, and you get the nice harsh light, is that that's kind of probably when I'll retreat to the shaded, the woodland areas of this reserve in particular. But that's just a thing to consider, like I said, about just knowing the different habitats of the places and locations you visit, and just adjusting kind of like your plans, your itinerary accordingly. Alright, I've been photographing a lot of various swallowtail butterflies and different kinds of moths as I made it back out in the prairie here. My settings are 250th of a second, f10, and ISO 200. And they've just been landing on various kinds of wildflowers out here, like the purple coneflowers and bergamot. and I've just been photographing them in macro. Typical setup. I got kind of all the works going here. I got a lens hood, no filter this time, external flash with a little pop diffusion filter, just diffuse the light a little bit more since it's kind of getting harsher midday as I'm out here in the open. And yeah, I've been really liking the results. I've been shooting handheld as well. I might do some tripod, now that's mounted on here, I might do some tripod shooting with that as well. But right now I'm just kind of waiting. I have it pre-focused on this purple coneflower, and I'm just waiting for hopefully something to land on it. Alright, I switched out my lens choices. I'm doing a wildlife setup now. So I got Tamron 150-600 here, zoom lens. And as I was walking through the westernmost side of the prairie, which I haven't checked out yet before, in this visit or even previous visits, I got a few decent photographs up close of some good looks at song sparrows and field sparrows. They're more common sparrows. I was hoping for maybe a Henslow sparrow, but I haven't seen any at this moment, unfortunately. And then right now I'm actually near this kind of side wooded area at the very edge of the reserve, and I got a pretty good look in listening to the call of a Carolina wren, which is pretty nice, and I got a decent photo of that as well. So yeah, checking out lots of different kind of bird life here. I keep hearing many different calls, and it's kind of tricky because the more common song sparrow has many different vocalizations and variations on its call, but it all kind of roughly sounds about the same. So as you can probably hear in the background, yeah, there's tons of bird song. The wind's kind of picking up a little bit, and the sun keeps being blocked by the clouds here and then, which is kind of nice just because of how really hot and sunny it is, and just the humidity just being out here in the open in the prairie. But I've just been finding, I'm just taking my time real slow with this. This is actually my second visit here, and I've just been really just exploring it because I haven't seen all the different parts yet. I haven't even seen the wooded area yet, but I'll definitely check that out in a bit, and I'll get to show you guys. So I finally decided to come into the woods, and at first I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, I didn't know if it was anything too special, but it's like got a lot of old growth giants. It's got a lot of really tall and old oak trees, and just different kinds of North American native trees and shrubs. But yeah, there's not too much going on here. It's pretty quiet relatively, but there's a lot of hills, so it's like a stark contrast to the relatively flat prairie on the outside, even though there's a lot of sun out there. This is nice where it's like there's shade, but there's a lot more kind of hills that the trail takes you on. So excuse me if I'm out of breath then, but yeah, it's not too big. I mean, I'm making my way around for the first time. It looks like it's a loop trail, but there's several different ways that it kind of breaks off from one another. And yeah, it's a nice little break in the entire prairie, because the super bloom is the main attraction, of course. I mean, that's why I came. I think that's why a lot of people come, especially at the time of this video, just because of it being a week with this super bloom and all these different wildflowers that are just rapidly growing and blossoming or whatever. Alright guys, I checked out the rest of the woodland. There's a nice big, just a very long uphill slope of gravel. It just kind of takes you up to the highest point, because it's pretty well elevated woodland habitat. That's just, it gets you a nice kind of decent hike in and a nice loop trail. But I think it's going to be it for today, fortunately. But like I said, I did get a variety of subjects, which is awesome. Just really happy about it, and I can't wait to edit them on the computer, and obviously you'll see them in the video here. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This has been Morris Reserve. Thank you for exploring with me, and make sure So get on out here. See you guys.